Picture a narrow, weathered street in a quiet Greek seaside village. The last thing you'd expect to find wedged between the potholes is a $400,000 supercar. This is a Lamborghini Huracan STO. It's a street-legal race car, and there are only a handful of them registered in the entire country. Seeing one sitting here casually is a massive statistical anomaly. Most of us use statistics like this as a defense mechanism. We look at a difficult goal, declare the odds of success to be 1 in a million, and use that math to justify giving up. We build a psychological cage out of probability. But when you encounter an actual 1 in a million event sitting right in front of you, the math breaks down. It proves that training your brain's filter to look for opportunities rather than obstacles makes the seemingly impossible become a visible, everyday occurrence. When operating from that place of statistical fear, we tend to force our way through life. We over-explain our ideas, we push aggressively for results, and we treat every goal like a heavy object that needs to be dragged uphill. This diagram shows 2 types of movement in fluid dynamics. The bottom section illustrates turbulent flow. Notice how the fluid isn't moving in a straight line. The energy swirls back on itself in chaotic loops, constantly colliding, creating intense internal friction. The harder you push the fluid, the more resistance it generates. Trying harder in a state of turbulence just creates heat and stress, meaning all that extra effort actually yields less forward progress. You see this physical friction play out in human interactions all the time, especially when someone tries to force knowledge onto someone else. Think of communication like an electrical circuit. If the material you're pushing current through has high resistance, and you decide to just crank up the voltage to force it through, you don't get more power. You just generate intense heat. In a conversation, that heat represents the listener's ego. When people feel that an idea is being imposed on them, their defensive mechanisms flare up. They block the information. To actually get a message across, the solution isn't to push harder. You have to stop increasing the voltage of your delivery and remove the resistance in the receiver. Physicists solve the resistance problem through superconductivity. By dropping the temperature of a material close to absolute zero, electrical resistance completely vanishes. You can apply that same cooling effect to human dynamics. A calm, detached presence, one entirely free of desperation or ego, allows ideas to pass from one mind to another without any loss or distortion. Instead of giving someone all the answers, you introduce a gap in their understanding. You create a pressure vacuum of curiosity that their brain naturally wants to fill. By stepping back and letting them pull the information in, you stop being an intruder pushing an agenda and become the architect of their own discovery. When you remove resistance, you enter the state shown in the top half of this diagram, laminar flow. Ancient Taoists called this wu wei, action without effort. Here, layers glide smoothly past one another. With no internal friction, you achieve maximum velocity naturally. That internal friction, that drag in our lives, is almost always caused by a sense of separation. We feel like strangers to our environment or our ambitions, and that distance causes us to collide with reality rather than glide through it. Eliminating that friction requires ikiota, a profound intimacy where you refuse to feel like an outsider in any room you enter. Once you collapse that distance and feel entirely at home in the world, the dynamic flips. You no longer have to chase down those rare opportunities. Your calm presence alone naturally conducts them toward you. Right after realizing this on that quiet street in Greece, I walked into a local shop to pay for a coffee, and a very specific song was playing on the radio. It was Sting, singing the line, "I'm a legal alien." It perfectly captured the feeling of operating on a completely different frequency from the crowd, yet having the absolute right to be exactly where you are. People like to call moments like that a miracle, but it's really just synchronicity. It's the system giving you a ping, confirming that your internal state and the external world are finally resonating together. When you drop the resistance and align with the current, those 1 in a million anomalies stop being statistical outliers